What if I told you some of the most powerful, influential guitarists in music history weren't just shredding behind the scenes, they were leading revolutions. They bent genres, broke rules, and carved their names into the fretboard of history. Note by note, this isn't just about solos. It's about soul, grit, style, and the women who made the guitar their voice. These are the top 5 female guitarists of all time, and if you think guitar heroes only come with long hair and leather jackets, think again. Number 5, Bonnie Raitt. She didn't just play the blues, she felt them. Bonnie Raitt brought slide guitar into the mainstream without ever chasing trends, watering it down, or pretending to be anything she wasn't. Her tone? Smooth like honey. Her touch? Sharp as heartbreak. She came up in smoky bars and blues clubs during the 1970s, places where the stage was usually reserved for men with loud amps and louder egos. But Bonnie didn't need to shout. She let her guitar speak in whispers, bends, and long aching notes that cut deeper than any scream ever could. Her slide work wasn't just technically brilliant, it was emotional. You could hear it in songs like Love Me Like a Man or I Can't Make You Love Me, tracks that don't show off as much as they reach out and grab you by the heart. Then came 1990's Nick of Time, an album that didn't just win the Grammy for Album of the Year, it reintroduced Bonnie Raitt to a new generation and reminded the world that authenticity wins in the end. She's earned 13 Grammys, influenced generations of musicians, and never once compromised her sound to fit a trend. Bonnie Raitt is the kind of guitarist who doesn't need volume to command attention. Her solos aren't about speed or flash, they're about space, silence, and feel. She plays like she's telling you something personal, like every slide across the strings is a memory you weren't supposed to hear. And that's what makes her legendary, not just a guitarist, a storyteller, with steel under her fingertips. Number 4, Peggy Jones, aka Lady Bo. Before anyone called it rock and roll, before Elvis, before Chuck Berry became a household name, there was Peggy Jones, better known as Lady Bo. She was one of the first female lead guitarists in rock history, and she was absolutely fearless. In the late 1950s, Lady Bo took the stage next to Bo Diddley, not just backing him, but driving the sound. She played rhythm, she played lead, she played with raw, explosive energy that was decades ahead of its time. You always hollered about where I've been. While most women in music were limited to vocals or piano, Peggy had a Gretsch in her hands and an attitude that said, I belong here. She didn't ask for permission, she plugged in and made herself impossible to ignore. Her tone was rough and wild, full of reverb and bite. She experimented with early effects, layering sounds that would later become staples of psychedelic and garage rock. And she did it all with confidence and swagger in an era that wanted her quiet and invisible. Lady Bo wasn't just Bo Diddley's guitarist, she was his musical equal. She helped craft the rhythmic, percussive style that became the Diddley beat, a sound that would influence everyone from the Rolling Stones to the Clash. But like many pioneers, she was written out of the history books, overshadowed, forgotten, until now. Peggy Jones didn't just break barriers, she bulldozed through them, wearing heels and holding a guitar that weighed as much as she did. She was punk before punk, rock before rock, and one of the boldest, most underrated guitarists of all time. It's time we said her name, Lady Bo. Private eye. Private eye. Number 3, Joni Mitchell. Some guitarists break rules. Joni Mitchell ignored them completely. While the rest of the folk world played in standard tuning, Joni twisted and reimagined the guitar into something entirely her own. She used over 50 alternate tunings, treating the guitar like a painter treats a canvas, layering harmonies, textures, and colors that no one else could touch. Her chords weren't just chords. They were entire moods. Bittersweet, unresolved, beautiful. In songs like A Case of You or Amelia, her guitar doesn't just accompany the lyrics, it speaks with them. Joni's technique was unorthodox. She'd let open strings ring out while her fingers created strange, haunting shapes up the fretboard. She wasn't trying to impress, she was trying to express. The result? A sound that was instantly recognizable, endlessly imitated, but never duplicated. She wasn't part of the guitar god narrative. She didn't shred, she didn't solo. She simply rewrote the DNA of the acoustic guitar, especially for women in music who saw themselves in her vulnerability, honesty, and daring. And while her influence is often talked about in terms of songwriting, her guitar work deserves just as much reverence.
And they charged all the people $1.50 just to see them.
Even legends like Jimmy Page, Prince, and John Mayer have bowed to her musical mind. They saw what she was doing and knew it was something rare. She made folk sound like jazz, made jazz feel like poetry, and made everything feel intimate, like the guitar was whispering secrets only you were meant to hear. Joni Mitchell didn't just play the guitar, she transformed it. One tuning, one phrase, one aching, beautiful song at a time.
Illusions, I recall, I really don't know.
Number 2, Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Before Chuck Berry duck walked across the stage, before Elvis shook his hips on television, there was Sister Rosetta Tharpe, wielding a guitar, a gospel voice, and a sound that would light the fuse for rock and roll. Born in 1915 in Arkansas, she was a gospel prodigy raised on church choirs and revival tents. But she wasn't content to keep the spirit locked inside the chapel. She plugged in her guitar, a white Gibson SG, and brought the house of God to the clubs, the theaters, and eventually, the world.
Didn't it rain, children? Rain, oh yes.
Her playing was electric in every sense of the word. She ripped solos that would make bluesmen sweat. She strummed with fire, picked with soul, and shouted her way through spirituals that suddenly sounded like rock anthems. In the 1940s and 50s, she was a headliner, a star. She played with Duke Ellington. She toured with Muddy Waters. And she did it all in heels with a guitar slung over her shoulder, grinning like she knew something the world hadn't caught up to yet. And she did. Rosetta was the first to bring distortion to gospel, the first woman to front a band and tear up the stage with an electric guitar, and the first real blueprint for what rock and roll would become. Everyone from Little Richard to Johnny Cash called her an influence. And yet, for decades, her name was barely a footnote in music history. Now that's changing, and rightly so. Sister Rosetta Tharpe didn't just kick down the door, she built the damn stage, and she played it like her soul was on fire. The true godmother of rock, finally getting the credit she always deserved. Number 1, Joan Jett. She didn't just play guitar, she owned it. Joan Jett didn't come to fit into rock and roll, she came to rip it wide open. When she first showed up in the 1970s with the Runaways, the industry didn't know what to do with her. A teenage girl in leather slinging a guitar and sneering into the mic, it was too raw, too real, too threatening. But she didn't care, she just kept playing. When record labels turned her down, all 23 of them, she started her own, Blackheart Records. That wasn't just a business move, it was a revolution. With I Love Rock and Roll, she made a statement louder than any amplifier. Women don't need permission to be loud, aggressive, and in control of their sound. Her guitar work was never about technical gymnastics. It was about power, simplicity, authority. Every riff was a rally cry, every chord a middle finger. She gave punk its punch, glam its grit, and rock its edge. As the rhythm playing was the backbone of every song, driving, chugging, refusing to back down. And through it all, she never softened. She never diluted her sound, never reshaped herself for radio. She was unapologetically Joan Jett, every inch of her. Beyond the music, she changed culture. She made space for women in rock by refusing to move over. You could hear her influence in every Raitt girl, every indie shredder, every teenage girl who picks up a guitar and decides she doesn't need anyone's approval. Joan Jett didn't just play rock and roll. She was rock and roll, and she still is. These women didn't follow the rules. They rewrote them. With grit, soul, and 6 strings, they proved the guitar doesn't care who's holding it, only what you do with it. So, who'd you add to the list? Drop your favorite female guitarist in the comments. Let's make sure they get the spotlight they deserve. And if you love music history with Edge, subscribe. This is just the beginning.